All right, so what I'm logged into right now is a project within the ProNovos platform. So where you typically start is on the overview page. You can see all the different tools on the left. So you've got your documents, forms, drawings, RFIs, submittals. But Wick, I thought the fun one to touch on today would be a specific report that I know we used a lot for our job reviews at OTL, which was the cost complete report.
That's a great one.
Yeah, if you hop to the Project Insights tab here, what you're able to see is the project financials pulling directly out of Foundation and being displayed here for the project manager. And what was really nice about this report was when I was working with Wick at OTL, we would always have a lot of back and forth about when should the project manager make official updates within Foundation. You know, Wick was always looking at it from an executive standpoint where, hey, he's got to go to the bonding agency, the accountants. All the adjustments in Foundation really need to be the final adjustments. And I was always looking at it from more of a project management aspect where, hey, I kind of want to tinker, do what if scenarios. If I buy out this sub for this amount, how is that going to affect my cost to complete? So we were always having this back and forth about when should those adjustments happen in Foundation. And what we ended up doing was we'd say, okay, we're going to save the final adjustments to make in Foundation, but then the project manager, you go ahead and do a cost complete analysis with it in Excel. And I think that drove Wick even crazier because every project manager had a different Excel sheet that we used. And he would always joke to us like, hey, I need the magic decoder ring to understand what the heck you did here to get to the final number you did. So we kind of got stuck between this rock and a hard place of, hey, you know, Foundation wasn't the right place to kind of do that what if analysis, and Excel was kind of too custom to each project manager. And that's how we ended up using the cost complete tool in ProNovos, where all the data was still flowing directly from Foundation. So it's the most recent accounting information, all the most recent job to cost information. But then it was able to basically be that project manager sandbox where they could go in and make custom adjustments. And then Wick would still have that kind of final review to say, okay, I see what you did here. I either believe what you're saying or, hey, I think you actually have more contingency you can give to me here. I'm going to pull more contingency out of the job to make that adjustment. So what I'm showing here is kind of the summary page, but where the real meat and potatoes of this report comes from is this forecast tool here, where if I want to go in for a specific cost code, and let's say I finish buying out my plumbing excavation and backfill, and I save $10,000 on it, I can go in and make the adjustment. It's going to update the remaining cost to complete. When I accept the changes here, it's going to flow back to that summary page. And then that's when Wick can do that final review in our weekly job or our monthly job reviews meeting. So it was a real powerful tool to kind of be that go-between between the project management team and the executive team. And that's just kind of one example of how you can use the data analytics as a project manager to really understand what's happening on a project. Some other reports that I always like to use were things like this one right here, where basically kind of on one page, you can basically see a summary of everything that's going on your project. So we know the project financials are always critical, but then things related to RFIs, submittals, punch lists, those are sometimes more of the leading indicators of where you might be headed on a project and where you might have trouble. And something that always drove me crazy as a project manager was when I had to jump across 6 different systems to get all that information and see it in one place. And ProNovos is able to take all that information, put it in the data warehouse, and really give you analytics across the whole project, whether it's financials, project management, whatever it might be. And then what's really powerful is you can kind of go from that macro view and get more granular into the micro view. So for a quick example here, if I'm looking at my labor budget today and I want to understand kind of what's driving that, I can drill into an additional report here, and it's going to give me a summary of everything that's happening on that project from a labor standpoint. So I can expand this bottom table here, and I can see each of my individual cost codes of what are my hours today, what was my original budget, how does that affect my labor rate. But that's a lot of information, and it might be information overload if you're looking at hundreds of rows of data. So it's sometimes more handy is we're able to build these rules that can show, example, what are the different cost codes that I've gone over budget on. So I can see this cost code 033004, we've experienced a bust. I can click on it and it's going to filter out all the data so I can see kind of what's driving that bus. So in this example, I can see not only did I go over in my hours, but I also went over on my labor rate. And that's a really powerful tool because the quicker you can kind of get to those specifics of what's driving any problem you might be having on a job, the quicker you're going to be able to address it. And that was always my experience as a project manager. Was typically when things went wrong on a project, it wasn't because people didn't know what they were doing or they messed up. It's usually because something was missed and you didn't catch it in time to fix it. And having tools like this that allow you to catch things as soon as things start to drift off, the more ability it gives you to jump in and correct them before they kind of get away from you there.